Chapter 4, 1982. Gogol's 14th birthday. Like most events in his life, it is another excuse for his parents to throw a party for their Bengali friend. His own friends from school were invited the previous day, a tame affair with pizzas that his father picked up on his way home from work, a baseball game watched together on television, some ping pong in the den. For the first time in his life, he has said no to the frosted cake, the box of Harlequin ice cream, the hot dogs and buns, the balloons and streamers taped to the walls. The other celebration, the Bengali one, is held on the closest Saturday to the actual date of his birth. As usual, his mother cooks for days beforehand, cramming the refrigerator with stacks of foil-covered trays. She makes sure to prepare his favorite things, lamb curry with lots of potatoes, luchis, thick chana dal with swollen brown raisins, pineapple chutney, sandwiches mold out of saffron-tinted ricotta cheese. All this is less stressful to her than the task of feeding a handful of American children, half of whom always claim they are allergic to milk, all of whom refuse to eat the crusts of their bread. "Come in," she hollers, expecting them to be Sonia in her pajamas, asking if she can borrow his magic 8-ball or his Rubik's Cube. He is surprised to see his father standing in stocking feet, a small potbelly visible beneath his oat-colored sweater vest, his mustache turning gray. Gogol is especially surprised to see a gift in his father's hands. His father has never given him birthday presents apart from whatever his mother buys, but this year, his father says, walking across the room to where Gogol is sitting, he has something special. The gift is covered in red and green and gold-striped paper, left over from Christmas the year before, taped awkwardly at the seams. It is obviously a book, thick hardcover wrapped by his father's own hands. Gogol lifts the paper slowly, but in spite of this, the tape leaves a scab. The short stories of Nikolai Gogol, the jacket says. Inside, the price has been snipped away on the diagonal. "Thanks, Baba," Gogol says, eager to return to his lyrics. Lately he's been lazy, addressing his parents in English, though they continue to speak to him in Bengali. Occasionally he wanders through the house with his running sneakers on. At dinner he sometimes uses a fork. For now, he's come to hate questions pertaining to his name, hates having constantly to explain. He hates having to tell people that it doesn't mean anything. In Indian. He hates having to wear a name tag on his sweater at Model United Nations Day at school. He even hates signing his name at the bottom of his drawings in art class. He hates that his name is both absurd and obscure, that it has nothing to do with who he is, that it is neither Indian nor American, but of all things Russian. He hates having to live with it, with a pet name turned good name, day after day, second after second. He hates seeing it on the brown paper sleeve of the National Geographic subscription. His parents got him for his birthday the year before and perpetually listed in the honor roll printed in the town's newspaper. At times his name, an entity shapeless and weightless, manages nevertheless to distress him physically, like the scratchy tag of a shirt he has been forced to permanently wear. At times he wishes he could disguise it, shorten it somehow, the way the other Indian boy in his school, Jayadev, has gotten people to call him Jay. But Gogol, already short and catchy, resists mutation. Other boys his age have begun to court girls already, asking them to go to the movies or the pizza parlor, but he cannot imagine saying, "Hi, it's Gogol," under potentially romantic circumstances. He cannot imagine this at all. "I took the liberty of reading it first. It has been many years since I've read these stories. I hope you don't mind." "No problem," Gogol says. "I feel a special kinship with Gogol," Ashok says, "more than any other writer. Do you know why?" "You like his stories?" "Apart from that, he spent most of his adult life outside his homeland, like me." Gogol nods. "Right. And there is another reason." The music ends and there is silence. But then Gogol flips the record, turning the volume up on Revolution 1. "What's that?" Gogol says, a bit impatiently. Ashok looks around the room. He notices the Lenin obituary pinned to the bulletin board, and then a cassette of classical Indian music he'd bought for Gogol months ago, after a concert at Krej, still sealed in its wrapper. He sees the pile of birthday cards scattered on the carpet and remembers a hot August day 14 years ago in Cambridge when he held his son for the first time. Ever since that day, the day he became a father, the memory of his accident has receded, diminishing over the years. Though he will never forget that night, It no longer lurks persistently in his mind, stalking him in the same way. It no longer looms over his life, darkening it without warning as it used to. Instead, it is affixed firmly to a distant time, to a place far from Pemberton Road. Today, his son's birthday is a day to honor life, not brushes with death. And so for now, Ashok decides to keep the explanation of his son's name to himself. No other reason, good night, he says to Gogol, getting up from the bed. At the door, he pauses and turns around. Do you know what Dostoevsky said? Gogol shakes his head. We all came out of Gogol's overcoat. What's that supposed to mean? It will make sense to you one day. Many happy returns of the day. Instead of renting an apartment of their own, they spend 8 months with their various relatives, shuttling from home to home. They stay in Ballygunge, Tullygunge, Salt Lake, Budge, ferried by endless bumpy taxi rides back and forth through the city. Every few weeks there is a different bed to sleep in, another family to live with, a new schedule to learn. Depending on where they are, they eat sitting on red clay or cement or terrazzo floors, or at a marble-top table too cold to rest their elbows on. Their cousins and aunts and uncles ask about their friends at school, about life in America, and what they eat for breakfast. They look at the pictures of their house on Pemberton Road. Carpets in the bathroom, they say. Imagine that. His father keeps busy with his research, delivering lectures at Jabalpur University. His mother shops in Newmarket and goes to movies and sees her old school friends. For 8 months, she does not set foot in a kitchen. She wanders freely around a city in which Gogol, in spite of his many visits, has no sense of direction. Within 3 months, Sonia had read each of her Laura Ingalls Wilder books a dozen times. Gogol occasionally opens up one of his textbooks, bloated from the heat. Though he's brought his sneakers with him, hoping to keep up with cross-country training, it is impossible on these cracked, congested, chock-a-block streets to run. The one day he tries, Uma Maima, watching from the rooftop, sends a servant to follow him so that Gogol doesn't get lost. The family returns to the U.S. Within 24 hours, he and his family are back on Pemberton Road, the late August grass in need of trimming, a quart of milk and some bread left by their tenants in the refrigerator, 4 grocery bags on the staircase filled with mail. At first, the Gangoulis sleep most of the day and are wide awake at night, gorging themselves on toast at 3 a.m, unpacking the suitcases one by one. Though they are home, they are disconcerted by the space, by the uncompromising silence that surrounds them. They still feel somehow in transit, still disconnected from their lives, bound up in an alternative schedule, an intimacy only the 4 of them share. But by the end of the week, after his mother's friends come to admire her new gold and saris, after the 8 suitcases have been aired out on the sun deck and put away, after the chanchachur is poured into Tupperware and the smuggled mangoes eaten for breakfast with cereal and tea, it's as if they've never been gone. How dark you've become, his parents' friends say regretfully to Gogol and Sonia. On this end, there is no effort involved. They retreat to their 3 rooms, to their 3 separate beds, and their 3 thick mattresses and pillows and fitted sheets. After a single trip to the supermarket, the refrigerator and the cupboards fill with familiar labels: Skippy, Hood, Bumblebee, Land O'Lakes. His mother enters the kitchen and prepares their meals once again. His father drives the car and mows the lawn and returns to the university. Gogol and Sonia sleep for as long as they want, watch television, make themselves peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at any time of day. Once again, they are free to quarrel, to tease each other, and to shout and holler. In September, Gogol returns to high school to begin his junior year. Honors biology, honors U.S. history, advanced trigonometry, Spanish, honors English. In his English class, he reads Ethan Frome, The Great Gatsby, The Good Earth, The Red Badge of Courage. He takes his turn at the podium and recites the Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow speech from Macbeth, the only lines of poetry he will know by heart for the rest of his life. His teacher, Mr. Lawson, is a slight, wiry, shamelessly preppy man with a surprisingly deep voice, reddish blonde hair, smallish but penetrating green eyes, horn-rimmed glasses. He is the subject of school-wide speculation and slight scandal, having once been married to Mrs. Sagan, who teaches French. He wears khakis and Shetland sweaters in bright solid colors, Kelly green and yellow and red, sips black coffee continually from the same chipped blue mug, cannot survive the 50-minute class without excusing himself to go to the teacher's lounge for a cigarette. In spite of his diminutive stature, he has a commanding, captivating presence in the room. His handwriting is famously illegible. Student compositions are regularly returned stamped with 10 rings of coffee, sometimes golden rings of scotch. Every year he gives everyone either a D or an F on the first assignment, an analysis of Blake's The Tiger. A number of girls in the class insist that Mr. Lawson is indescribably sexy and have raging crushes on him. The following day, Mr. Lawson writes Nikolai Gogol in capital letters on the board, draws a box around it, then writes the dates of the author's birth and death in parentheses. Gogol opens the binder on his desk, reluctantly copies the information down. He tells himself it isn't so strange. There is, after all, a William in the class, if not an Ernest. Mr. Lawson's left hand guides the chalk rapidly across the board, but Gogol's pen begins to lag. The loose-leaf pages remain blank as those of his classmates fill up with facts on which he will most likely soon be quizzed. Born 1809 in the province of Poltava to a family of Ukrainian Cossack gentry. Father, a small landowner who also wrote plays, died when Gogol was 16. Studied at the Lyceum of Nizhyn, went to St. Petersburg in 1828, where he entered, in 1829, the civil service in the Department of Public Works for the Ministry of the Interior. From 1830 to 1831, transferred to the court ministry in the Department of Royal Estates, after which time he became a teacher, lecturing on history at the Young Ladies' Institute, and later at the University of St. Petersburg. At the age of 22, established a close friendship with Alexander Pushkin. In 1830, published his first short story. In 1836, a comic play, The Government Inspector, was produced in St. Petersburg. Dismayed by the play's mixed reception, left Russia. For the next 12 years, lived abroad in Paris, Rome, and elsewhere, composing the first volume of Dead Souls, the novel considered to be his finest work. Gogol does not date anyone in high school. He suffers quiet crushes, which he admits to no one, on this girl or that girl with whom he already is friends. He does not attend dances or parties. He and his group of friends, Colin and Jason and Mark, prefer to listen to records together, to Dylan and Clapton and The Who, and read Nietzsche in their spare time. His parents do not find it strange that their son doesn't date, does not rent a tuxedo for his junior prom. They have never been on a date in their lives, and therefore they see no reason to encourage Gogol, certainly not at his age. Instead, they urge him to join the math team and maintain his A average. His father presses him to pursue engineering, perhaps at MIT. Assured by his grades and his apparent indifference to girls, his parents don't suspect Gogol of being, in his own fumbling way, an American teenager. They don't suspect him, for instance, of smoking pot, which he does from time to time when he and his friends get together to listen to records at one another's homes. They don't suspect him when he goes to spend the night at a friend's house of driving to a neighborhood town to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show and into Boston to see bands in Kenmore Square.